Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur, and Uber surprises me a lot. I was thinking about opening this video by saying, Uber has truly surprised me today, but the thing is, the only thing that would truly surprise me about Uber these days is if they didn't surprise me. And I'm not even going to say that this is one of their top 5 most surprising announcements. It's a strange one. It's one that's definitely worth talking about, hence why we're here. But apparently Uber, their future isn't in cars. It's in bikes. I kid you not. This isn't just some random Uber employee saying this. This is the CEO, Dara K. I'm blanking on the name again. Sorry. Now, according to the BBC, so I don't know if this is stateside. Maybe this is international. I don't know. Boss Dara K said that the individual modes of transport were better suited to intercity travel. Oh, sorry. Here's the thing. Uber says it plans to focus more on its electric scooter and bike business and less on cars, despite the fact that it could hurt profits. Well, first of all, let's just get something right off the bat. The cars don't bring in profit. Uber is notoriously unprofitable, and that has not changed. So by scaling back on the cars, I'm not sure you could hurt the profits any because there simply are none. But you would probably at the very least hurt the income that would come in from the car. So I don't know why they wrote it that way, but let's continue. Boss Dara K said that individual modes of transport were better suited to intercity travel. He also forecast users would make more frequent, shorter journeys in the future. Oh, they do that already. They do that already. Do you know how many people I have picked up and they wanted to go just like a block or two? People are doing that. So that's not a forecast. That's not a prediction. That is not a, I look in my crystal ball and I see this happen. No, it's happening now. Uber, you're a data company. You see it happening now. You know this is the direction. There's no forecast. That's a petty complaint, by the way. I fully acknowledge that, but whatever. During rush hour, it is very inefficient for a one-ton hulk of metal to take one person 10 blocks, he told the Financial Times. Oh, it's impractical, but people will do it. I mean, I kind of see where he's going with this. Before even getting there, I can see the argument he's trying to make, but this is not a good argument because people are getting the cars because they don't want to, ride a bike or walk. Of course, it's much more efficient. Of course, you'd save a lot of money. Of course, it's actually good for you because, exercise, but that's not the point. People just want to go home. They want to be taken home. They don't care if it takes a long time in traffic. That's what they're going to do. So let's see. Short-term financially, maybe it's not a win for us, but strategically long-term, we think that it is exactly where we want to head. That is definitely a glowing recommendation on their new bike service, which they partnered with Lime on. The ride-sharing firm has invested in a number of bike firms in the last year. Its Jump electric bikes are now available in 8 U.S. cities, including New York and Washington, and are soon launching in Berlin. It also teamed up with Lime, an electric scooter company, while forging deals in other areas such as public transit and freight. Mr. Kurashahi admitted that Uber makes less money from a bike ride than that from the same trip in a car, but said that this would be offset as customers use the app more frequently for shorter journeys. Also, you don't have to pay those pesky drivers. Quote, we are willing to trade off short-term per-unit economics for long-term higher engagement, he told the FT. He also acknowledged that Uber drivers could lose out from the plan, but said over the longer term, drivers would benefit more from the lucrative longer journeys. You know what? Not gonna lie, there's something to that thinking. If you could, in theory, convince a lot of people like, hey, the short trips are not very lucrative, or not lucrative, but, not worth doing. They take too long. They're too expensive. Rent a bike. You can get home a lot faster. Then they can do that. I don't see them actually doing that, the customers that is, because when the Uber is $3 to get home, why would you ride your own bike? The only way the drivers will truly benefit from the longer trips is if the minimum trip price were a lot higher. If it was like $8 or $10 to do like the first 5 miles, then yeah, if someone was going home and it was like less than a mile away, yeah, they would probably rent the bike instead if they could get that for a few bucks. But if the electric scooter slash the bike costs the same as the Uber Bear fare for less than 2 miles, there's not going to be a whole lot of less shorter rides for the drivers. But in theory, this should work out. So his head's in the right spot in this particular case. It's just he's not thinking it through. Well, anyway, under pressure. Uber, which lost $4.5 billion last year, is under pressure to improve its finances ahead of an anticipated public listing. Revenue from its taxi business is rising, but the cost of expansion to new areas such as bike sharing and food delivery has meant losses have grown rapidly. Also, the absolute failures, and I mean absolute failure, of the self-driving car unit. It's a disaster. You're not going to hear anything from it. Not anytime soon, except that it costs them a lot of money to keep it going, even though they're not using it. Regulatory pressure is also threatening growth in some markets. This month, New York voted to impose a temporary cap on new licenses for ride-hailing vehicles to tackle congestion, while the mayor of London has said he will seek similar restrictions. And that is one of the key reasons why we're talking about this. Because some people are asking, why is Uber changing their tune? Keep in mind, Uber changes their tune all the time. When the company started, it was called Uber Taxi, I believe, or Uber Cab, one of those things. And when they realized that by calling themselves a taxi or cab, that they would be regulated as such, they called themselves Uber. They were no longer a cab company, they were a transportation network. But then someone pointed out that, hey, if you're a transportation network, you fall under these guidelines. So then they said, no, we're a technology company. And then when someone found regulations for them, no, we're a payment processing service. Uber changes their tune all the time to avoid regulations. And here's why they're talking about the bikes. Because that very regulation is starting to catch up with them, and cars, they're actually preparing probably for a day when cars either isn't their main product or they can't do it anymore. The New York thing is one of the things. A cap on the vehicles. That's going to hurt them greatly. And London, it looks like, will do the same thing. And if there's a cap, then there's a limit to that growth. So that's one thing. Also, again, their self-driving car unit is totally dead in the water and it's costing them hundreds of millions of dollars every month to keep it around for results that are frankly not impressive, and they're not going to make any headway on this for a very, very long time. And there's already been discussion whether or not they want to actually just cut their losses and get rid of the whole thing. So the self-driving car unit, that is at the moment a pipe dream. Nothing is going to happen with it anytime soon. So when you have caps on your vehicles and you have a self-driving unit that is not going anywhere, and then you have, like in California and Washington, specifically the city of Seattle, talking about unionizing and classifying the drivers as employees, not independent contractors, which means you might have to leave those markets or play ball with them. Well, of course, Uber is going to want to take it away from the cars. And in that case, they might be correct. Uber is not a transportation company anymore. Now they are investing in electric bikes and scooters, and especially food delivery, which Freight and Uber Eats are the only things profitable at Uber right now. Nothing else is. And they're hoping the bikes will eventually be more profitable. Now, again, he wants to move the short trips to the bikes. And here's the thing. He might actually do that. He might actually, in one way or another, kind of edge people towards the bikes for the short trips, because with the car caps, that would make the most sense. Again, I think one of the only ways you could do it is to raise the minimum fare, which, of course, if they do that, they're going to have to pay the drivers more, so maybe they won't go in that direction. Or maybe they'll do the algorithm so that whenever you need a short trip, your nearest Uber is like an hour away, and it's just, way more easy for you to just get the bikes. I don't know how they're going to do it, but it's pretty clear that Uber is realizing that they need to start branching out. They need to branch out into other areas because the transportation thing has gotten extremely volatile in the last 6 months. And the strange thing is, it's during a time when the news stories have been kind of lowball punches, if you will. There were way more scandals last year that I reported on that didn't do nearly the amount of damage that these did, because these stories, these scandals have been small but firm. Capping the vehicles, not a particularly great story, but it makes a difference. it makes a very big difference with how they run their business. Unionizing in Seattle, Washington, not a big story in of itself. People unionize all the time. But it affects the way Uber does business. See where I'm going with this? So, yeah, with the bikes, they don't have the drivers. So in the long term, it could be more profitable. Now, one thing we don't know for certain is how much in bike maintenance it's going to cost them. Because I anticipate like a lot of bike chains will have to get replaced, a lot of tires will have to be replaced, maybe even a lot of handles will have to be taken care of. Who knows? On the other hand, I also know this, to replace a tire on a bike is a lot less expensive than replacing an automatic transmission or, a water pump or something. So if Uber has to carry on the expenses themselves with this, oh well. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this bike initiative. Everyone's all about bikes recently, and I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to understand why they're all gung-ho about it, because basically they're preparing for regulation. They're preparing to be regulated, and who knows what Uber would look like. So they better have something else to fall back on should they decide, you know what, all these new regulations, we just do not want to get into this at all. We need to get out of this business. And again, the driving business doesn't bring in any money anyway, so it's kind of hard to argue that it's a total loss if you cut it. But I would love to know your guys' thoughts. What do you think of this? Do you think the future of Uber is bikes or something else, or a combination of the two? Please let me know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy my videos, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's totally optional, of course, but even as little as $1 a month goes a long way to helping the channel run smoothly. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.